fundamentally, we're talking about a cardiovascular-based test where we ramp you up from resting right through to your anaerobic threshold, a little bit beyond, and then we kind of wind you down. But that's it's a graded ramp test, and ultimately what we get out of that is a whole lot of data, not only about your overall level of fitness, but how your fitness changes as you go up through the intensity. So how efficient you are at burning different types of fuels at different intensities, and what that might mean about your training in the past, what it means about the kind of the energy production and your, in your body, and what we can kind of then of course do for the future to change that. So yeah, so that on the performance side, that's the two things. And I'll just quickly sort of say, of course, on the for the resting metabolic rate, that goes kind of not hand in hand with, because once again, the resting metabolic rate is more a health metric rather than a performance metric, but really, really critical to understanding just how many calories you need to get by in the day. And the only difference is that when you take it from a health perspective, and for someone who's trying to bring their composition to a leaner state, then of course it's about putting a cap on those calories. When we're talking about sports people, it's frequently, are you eating enough to support your training, to support your performance? So this the same kind of test, but obviously taken with two different contexts.
Can you sorry, go on, Paul.
I was about to say, no, a ton of questions on that. It was interesting because I think one of my trainers came to see you, Frantisek, after he did our 12-week transformation program. He got a fantastic result and he came back about 9% body fat. But what was interesting actually was just seeing seeing your calorie kind of targets for him based on his scan, and the allocation that you gave him for his activity. And he was doing a 5-day a week, fairly intensive strength training routine with sprinting and with a lot of what we call muscular cardio, so stuff that really raises your heart rate. So you do work really hard. And then he was lifting pretty heavy weights at the end of the program.
Yeah.
But seeing, I mean, he had quite a high calorie, he was over 3,000 calories, but the allocation that you gave him for the activity itself was interesting, because you see a lot of people when they're kind of hacking their diet, they kind of allocate like 700, 800 calories for the activity. And you only gave him around about 350, 400, or I can't remember the exact number. It wasn't as much as you'd think. Why is that? Why is the actual activity level calorie kind of demands quite low relatively to what most people expect?
Yeah, so I mean, what we have to remember with our exercise is that, we are walking around, sitting up, standing up, sitting down, just generally going through everyday activity for up to 16, 17 hours a day. We are breathing and our heart is beating and our brain is functioning for 24 hours a day. So relative to those massive chunks of energy, an hour a day, no matter how intensively you're working, can't really kind of compete when it comes to the overall burn. The other thing is that we allocate according to what somebody's goals are. So if somebody, if on your kind of fitness watch or whatever, it has sort of said to you that you've kind of burned through 700 calories, there's stuff about the accuracy of those figures, but let's assume for a second that that's true. That isn't necessarily 700 new calories that has come out of stores. That is 700 calories that might have been rediverted from other body systems. Your body's made economies elsewhere, and then of course some of it will come out of stores. So if somebody's aim is to kind of lose weight or to continue to get leaner, we've got to be very careful and judicious about how we allocate those calories, and because intensive exercise, it's very unpredictable as to what calories will be coming out of fat stores, for example.